Author's Note. This is a special review of the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, with special thanks to ghostoftime1, based on Winnie the Pooh by A. A. Milne and E. H. Shepard, directed by John Lunsbury and Wolfgang Reitherman, published by Walt Disney Pictures. Starring the voices of Sterling Holloway, Bruce Reitherman, John Walmsley, Timothy Turner, John Fielder, Ralph Wright, Clint Howard, Dory Whittaker, Barbara Luddy, Junius Matthews, Hal Smith, Howard Morris, Sebastian Cabot, and Paul Winchell as Tigger. Rated G. Special thanks to Drac Keagan VA for her voice of Starlight Glimmer, Cozy Glow, and Queen Chrysalis.
Hello, I'm Tigger.
Oh, you scared me.
Are you still reading that Winnie the Pooh book?
Why not? It does reflect back to a simpler fillyhood time.
But why waste your eyes on such a kiddie story?
Excuse me?
Hey Ghost, remember the days of Christopher Robin and Pooh?
Oh man, how can I forget? That was a much more innocent time from when I was a little kid. All the characters in the 100-Acre Wood just playing and frolicking together, and occasionally getting into some wacky shenanigans.
Well, speaking of which, let's take a look at 3 Winnie the Pooh stories covered in this review. Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and Winnie the Pooh and Tigger too.
For those of a shortening mind, they are The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
So let's get started, shall we?
The scoundrel confiscated my honey. Don't feed the bear.
Our first story in this compilation is Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. One morning, Pooh discovers that he's all out of honey. The little bear is determined to get a good smackerel from the honey tree, but ends up getting into a lot of trouble.
I consider this first entry as more of an introduction into the movie, what life in the 100-Acre Woods is all about, with characters like Pooh, Eeyore, Kanga, Roo, Owl, Gopher, and Christopher Robin.
Interesting little fun fact here. As Gopher himself states, he does not make any appearance in the original books by A. A. Milne. It appears that Disney wanted to take a few creative liberties in this movie. And you know what? I'm perfectly okay with this. Gopher fits right in with the cast. But back on topic.
I'm not in the book.
As this first story is focused on Pooh, we learn that he is one of simple mind and a small hint of naivety, be it trying to get honey from bees or a scrumptious lunch from Rabbit's house.
Naive, but well-meaning. All the same, it can also lead him to being a bit careless, as seen after he had lunch with Rabbit. What's even crazier is that it's never really stated how long Pooh was stuck there. Days? Weeks? Months? Who knows?
Not to mention, back when I was a kid, I used to laugh at Rabbit's expense. Nowadays, I feel sorry for this simple farmer and the torment he goes through.
And Pooh getting stuck in his front door is only the first unfortunate thing to happen to poor Rabbit. And it always seems to get worse and worse.
But I haven't finished yet.
But Pooh, you're in the next chapter.
And now we turn to our second story, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day.
This story begins with Pooh journeying to his thoughtful spot. But a brief encounter with Gopher motivates him to wish a happy Wednesday to his friends. And it's here that we're introduced to Pooh's timid but kind friend, Piglet. But things take a turn for the worse along the way.
And it's not just Piglet that joins in. We're also introduced to the bouncer himself, Tigger.
There's something about Tigger that I've always liked, but I could never explain what that something is. Maybe he's just that sort of character that fills you with uncontrolled excitement just for the sake of being excited.
Well, he asked for it.
And you also have the legendary Paul Winchell playing the character. He puts in a lot of energy as Tigger and just enjoyed every moment of it.
Immediately following Pooh's encounter with Tigger, he becomes wary of the alleged existence of heffalumps and woozles, and these thoughts crawled into his mind as he fell asleep, leading to a pretty trippy dream sequence. Though, to be fair, it's not nearly as creepy as the pink elephants from Dumbo.
But then again, this, along with the rain sequence, is the reason why Disney films are great. The animation is always top-notch, regardless if it's subtle or wacky.
Is it raining in there?
The animation is great all around, though I admit I noticed some reused scenes at a couple points throughout the whole movie. Anyway, as soon as Pooh wakes from that nightmare, he immediately discovers that his whole house is flooded. In fact, nearly all of the 100-acre wood is flooded. If you really think about it, that's kind of grim, especially for a movie like this.
Grim or delightful, this trilogy of films also showcases the subtle yet pleasant color palettes of the backgrounds. They were designed as if the entire book came to life.
And that quality particularly shows in the third and final story of this movie, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. Here we see the aforementioned bouncy tiger as the central focus.
You know there are more mature stories out there for you to read, like The Hunt for Red October, or Dracula.
It's just a personal preference, kid. And besides, aren't you a little too young to read those kinds of books?
Oh, very cute.
Why, thank you very much.
Finally, fed up with Tigger's bouncing during the fall season, Rabbit decides to hatch a plan to finally stop Tigger from bouncing around. Unfortunately, it's not a well thought out plan.
And it's here where my earlier comment about Rabbit's bad luck really comes into play. Rabbit's so-called splendid idea of losing and finding Tigger in the mist backfires, thus resulting in him getting totally spooked until Tigger comes to his rescue.
Oh, why does it always have to be me?
A harsh lesson to be learned. But speaking of which, Tigger did bite off more than he could chew when looking out for little Roo.
Sometimes a harsh lesson is necessary to get someone's mind straight. Fortunately, Rabbit did soften up once he saw how saddened everyone was to see Tigger sad. Seems to me he had to learn a lesson himself.
By the way, what are your thoughts on little Roo?
Don't swing on a string, it's much too frail. The best kind of swing is a tiger's tail. Whee!
Roo is adorable. He has that same level of uncontained energy, optimism, and innocence seen in most kids his age. Kanga's been doing a good job raising the little guy.
It's too bad we don't get to see Kanga that often. In fact, my main concern of all three films is that we don't get to see much of her, Owl, or Eeyore.
Yeah, all Owl seems to do is ramble on about his family, though I'd personally like to hear his stories in full. Kanga's screen time is generally limited to her simply being Roo's loving mother. Eeyore actually has a little bit more of a role, despite his low screen time. For all his gloominess, he's nonetheless very helpful and determined when helping Owl.
If you want to follow me, I'll show it to you.
It's still amazing that The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh still stands up to this day as a Disney classic.
This movie is living proof that you don't need grand adventures, explosions, or deep stories to be enjoyable. Sometimes, all you need is something down to earth and relaxing, and that's exactly what Winnie the Pooh delivers here. If you haven't seen this movie, I implore you to find it on DVD, Blu-ray, or Disney+. It's all but guaranteed to make you smile.
And don't forget to check out the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the animated series, also available on Disney+.
In the meantime, I'm going to be doing nothing for a while, 'cause doing nothing leads to the very best something.
TTFN! Ta-ta for now!
Why waste your time on those stupid books, you two? Why not read something real? Like the Twilight Saga?
No!
Wow, how very defensive of those snowflakes.